Leaders and healers, gamers and claimers, ladies and gentlemen from around the universe, from around the globe, from around the community, welcome to the Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast. I am your host, Anthony Cheam, speaker, life coach, author, trainer, musician, singer, songwriter, podcast host, ready to give to you as your friend and care for you and compassion and love for you the best of what I've learned and earned in this beautiful world, in this beautiful life, so I can return to you the education, the empowerment, the enrichment, the insights, the inspiration from my life to you, so that you can transform your life, claim your power, clarify your purpose, and cultivate your deepest, widest, and highest passions possible. So ultimately, you then can live a better life. You can live an inspired life, and then ultimately, then give what you've learned and earned, and then return it to the people around you, to the community, to the globe, because that's where the ultimate fulfillment and happiness and joy comes from. Not just learning and achieving, and not just by growing, but then giving everything that you've given or learned in this world, because this is a beautiful world. Let's face it. There's some dark places, yes. There's some tumultuous, and there's times and poverty and storms that happen, and yes. And this particular episode, let me tell you, it's going to be a great episode. We're going to get some insight from Cam, and we're going to go pretty deep in this one, and I think it's going to be a profound episode that will help bring awareness and broaden your view about certain things, about life, about illness, about success, about gifts, about talents, about all these things, about what it means to be human being and human 101. So thank you for joining us, whether you're listening to this on Instagram or Facebook live or passively in your car on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We thank you for being on this podcast. We wouldn't be on the show without you, to our consistent listeners, and it is an absolute pleasure to be on the show with you. So thank you. Cameron, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Hello. Man, life has been crazy. So many different things happening in so many different directions, different areas of life tugging at different parts of me. But overall, I come back from it stronger, more wise, more willing, more tolerable, but in a good way. Like, I'm more able to put up with difficult things. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But anyways, on the topic of, feeling like no matter how much, I don't know if you've had these moments, like these thoughts in your head, because I think we're probably the exact same in the sense that I'm in the early stages, but you were there, where we're just reading and researching and listening and trying to learn as much as possible, trying to look for answers, and like we're just so curious and excited about learning, though we reach these moments where we think to ourselves, is all of that BS? Like, does it even work? Like, because you get to this place where you're so out of control, so your perspective is so shut into a box that you can't see your way out of it. You're just like, what am I supposed to be doing? I don't know.
What am I supposed to do with this?
I remember telling my friend, like, man, if I knew right now just like the step-by-step process to like get to where I want to be, there's no question I would sacrifice anything to start doing that.
Sure.
But I was just so clouded, I definitely can relate on this subject. That's for sure.
Well, you know what? It is a very sensitive subject, because there are a lot of people that suffer from mental, emotional, or physical disabilities or illnesses. But part of the reason why I wanted to title this particular podcast episode, "Is This a Gift or an Illness?" is simply because you can literally flip anything into an illness, and you can flip anything into a gift. And part of growth, and this is a common theme on this podcast, about claiming your power, clarifying your purpose, cultivating your deepest, widest, and highest passions possible. Part of claiming your power is not just, owning yourself and upgrading yourself, but also know thyself. Know thy patterns, negative patterns, positive patterns, know emotional distresses, know thy past. Once you are able to understand thyself and understand what patterns are destroying you and what patterns are helping you and aiding you and are constructive rather than destructive, part of the thing of what I've learned too in the journey of spirituality, of emotional fitness, of mental health, all these things integrated as a life coach, because for me as a life coach, I want to help someone integrally, not just mentally and emotionally, but spiritually in their relationships, and understanding the yin and the yang. For every dark area in your life, there is an equal opposite light area for that particular problem or challenge in your life. We talked about that with Al McBride the other week about the podcast about how to turn calamities into opportunities, how to turn gifts into illnesses and illnesses or sickness into gifts. And, part of that is owning and taking full responsibility first and foremost for the things that are being drawn into your life. One of my original mentors, I've said this on this podcast before, they said, wherever you find yourself, wherever, it doesn't good or bad or indifferent, at some point you made an appointment to be there. And now some people might think that as, oh, well, you don't know the life I've been in. I have genetics that, my father had or my mother had depression and anxiety or OCD or ADHD or whatever it might be. And they blame. Yes, and that absolutely might be true. But I've said it before and I said it again. It's not necessarily the facts of life that keep people from moving forward. It's the story that they keep telling them about why these things are happening. Or I've had this, I can't progress because I have ADHD or because I have OCD or because I have depression or anxiety or whatever it might be. Whatever debilitating factor or mental. And I'm not saying they're not real, because I too, and I'm fully open with this, I too have gone through my own share of struggles, addictions, depression, seasonal affective disorder during the wintertime, particularly, and I've honed it down to be basically between the months of February, March, April, and May is when it gets really bad. So I prepare myself. And out of that sort of dark time, I use it as a reflection time, but also I come out so much more open and compassionate towards people who suffer from deep depression. I found that humility and I'm more humble as a result when I meet people who are depressed or sad or down. There's no judgment that comes across because I go through that. I have friends that have ADHD. I have clients that have ADHD, and I won't get obviously keep their names for privacy, of course. But like the point is, some of them have ADHD or on depression medication or anxiety medication. These are real issues that are happening in the world. And I have a particular friend. If this person doesn't take their medication, they are a complete mess. They can't function properly. So part of that is knowing thyself that you have a certain problem and then going to work to actually find the solution. And I listened to a lot of Carolyn Meese's work and read a lot of her stuff, and she's an interesting, wonderful human being, but she tells you how it is. She gets raw about how it is, and she talks about owning your archetypes, and she talks a lot about archetypes. We all have the archetype of the lover. We all have like 12 archetypes she talks about, and we have an archetype of the prostitute or the saboteur or the angry child or the archetype of the addict. Some people have this archetype of the entrepreneur, and some people just don't. I've met a lot of people, why don't you just open up your own business? And they go, I'm better equipped to actually work for someone. Give me a bunch of work and I'll do it. And that's okay, because we need employers and employees. We need people that are willing to do that work in the background. And not everyone's going to be an entrepreneur. So some people are naturally born entrepreneurs. Other people are natural born, at athletics or whatever it might be. And I have to say, when it comes to archetypes, she did mention something about Bill Wilson, the guy who started up Alcoholics Anonymous. And as much as that may have been one of the worst times of his life, he owned it. He finally dropped to his knees and said, I have a problem. He owned it and said, I need help. And he literally got on his knees and prayed to God saying, I need some help here. And out of that, he owned his archetype, he examined it, he identified the patterns, and out of that pain, out of that illness, out of that addiction, out of that major sickness in his life, guess what happened? He created Alcoholics Anonymous and created an environment that people could support each other. That and I forget the movie that was called I Am Bill with James Woods. He plays Bill Wilson, and he talks about, I discovered the way to get rid of alcoholism. And he talks about, okay, all you need to do is get a bunch of people together and serve other people and help other people and help. It's all about serving and loving other people. And I recall what he said. Let me just pull this up for you guys. A quote from his book that he wrote, and it's pretty profound. Let me just find it here, guys. So stay with me for a sec. And it is one of the most profound statements in his transformation. Let me just pull it up for you guys here. There it is. He says this: This is when he was in the violent throes of massive addiction to alcohol. He was ready to end it. He was ready to just call it in, pack it in. He says this: "My depression deepened unbearably, and finally it seemed to me, though I were at the bottom of the pit," and I'm sure everyone out here has felt like they were at the bottom of the pit, "I still gagged badly at the notion of a power greater than myself. But I finally, just for a moment, the last vestige of my proud obstinacy was crushed. All at once, I found myself crying out, 'If there is a God, let him show himself. I'm ready to do anything.' And suddenly the room lit up with a great light. I was caught up into an ecstasy which there are no words to describe. It seemed to me in the mind's eye, that I was on a mountain and that a wind, not of air, but of spirit, was blowing. And then it burst upon me that I was a free man." And out of owning that archetype, owning that issue, owning that quote unquote illness, of finally saying, that's it, my heart is open. I'm fully naked before God or the universe. I have a problem. I don't know what to do. There's power in that. There's power in that severe place when you're in pain and suffering, and you call out and say, "I'm vulnerable. I don't know how to do this." And out of that, he created Alcoholics Anonymous. And to this day, the 12-step program is still one of the most successful programs out there to help people through addictions. And he turned his illness into a gift. And because of his illness, because of his struggle, I have lots of people who I knew who are former alcoholics, and they still go to AA, and all these people I know, and they're amazing, humble people. They literally cry or weep at their gifts, and they laugh at their sins. And it might seem paradoxical. Richard Rohr said that, but at some point you just have to laugh and laugh at your sins and weep at all the beauty that's around you. And that's what Bill Wilson did. And part of the reason why Alcoholics Anonymous is so successful is that they have people mentoring these people, and they're not getting paid for it. They're called sponsors. They're mentoring these people, and they say, "Give me a call at 3 a.m. If you are at the bar and you are struggling and you're about to have a drink, give me a call." And it doesn't matter what time. And it's true mentorship, leadership mentorship at the deepest level. And these are not therapists or professionals or psychologists. These are people that have gone through and walked through the dark times. And what I'm saying to you is, out there, wherever you are, whatever you feel like you're struggling with, there is hope. There are people that can help you. And oftentimes it just takes that little sense of humility in your heart to go, "I have a problem here." Not denying it, but saying, "I've got a problem here and I need help. And I got to take full responsibility for it. And I got to ask for help. I got to seek help." And just like you, Cam, you talked about at the beginning of this podcast, you talk about you and I are searching, are hungering and starving for more information, knowledge, wisdom, whatever it might be, to better ourselves, to better understand ourselves, to better understand life, even though we will never get to the actual full embodiment of all the answers of life. But I think that's part of the paradox of life too, is going on a search even though you're not going to get to the answers, because no one can tell us the absolute truth about if there is a God or if there's not a God, right? Or why we're here. We can just suppose and search and journey and contemplate and meditate and pray and share our lives with other people. And I think turning your gifts into illnesses, or even turning your illnesses into gifts, because I know a lot of people who have a lot of gifts and they just totally dismiss them, and then they turn what's good in their life into something bad. So a lot of people have this amazing strategy, or the amazing ability to turn their gifts their illnesses into gifts. Other people have this amazing thing to turn their gifts into illnesses, or blessings into curses, or curses into blessings, whatever it might be. The point of the matter is, wherever you find yourself, people out there, if you're struggling with an issue, there are people that want to help you. Not just people that are out there to help you. They're people that actually want to help you. Whether you have depression or anxiety, whether you suffer from addictions, and you are you're in the closet. And let me tell you, there's something freeing when you finally say, "I have a problem. I need help." And let me tell you, that alone, that's the first step. And then what's the first thing they do? They get people at AA meetings to do? What's the first step? It's stand in front of people and say, "My name is this, blah, 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 and I am an alcoholic." There's something freeing when you actually say that. Or, "I've got an addiction," or I've got this pattern that's destroying my life, and I don't know how to get myself out of it. and I need your help to help me navigate through this dark time, or in this weakness of mine. So any thoughts there, Cam?
Yes. On the topic of saying things out loud, definitely helps for sure.
100%.
I don't know if you've ever done like shadow work and then you'll say sort of things out loud that
Yes.
you would never say in a million years, and it's almost hard to say even in a room by yourself. No, there's something freeing about that, and I think also admitting your helplessness or worthlessness.
100%. No, but that's exactly it. It's being totally transparent with how you're feeling, and saying like, how are you feeling right now? Oh, I'm feeling great. No, really, how are you feeling? And you go, no, I'm actually feeling worthless right now. Let's talk about it. Let's go deep into that, right? Because the biggest fear, as Caroline Meese, and I think is one of the most brilliant sayings that she's ever said. Tony Robbins talks about the two biggest fears being not being loved and not feeling worthy. But the other big fear, I think that's deeper than that, is the fear of the confrontation with truth. Is facing the truth and finally saying to yourself, I have an addiction, or I'm responsible for the dissolving of my relationship, and I'm taking on, and that hurts. It hurts actually to say that to yourself and go, I don't know. I am a narcissist, or I am more arrogant than I thought I was. And then calling yourself, and then eventually, as soon as you say that, you own it, therein lies the actual openness, the awareness to finally what's necessary to actually shift it and to make a transformation. Because as soon as you own it, after you own it, thereafter, you can't blame anything or anyone on this pattern that you run, right? You get what I'm saying? Because you've now owned it. So then the next time you actually fall into this pattern, then you are consciously actually engaging in this pattern. And then you can consciously to actually deactivate it or call yourself on it. Oftentimes what I do, one of my favorite things to break my own pattern, is to kind of just, number one, be aware of my pattern. That's actually could be just like a negative pattern that I'm going into. And I'll go, oh, there I go again. And I'll kind of laugh at myself and go, there I go again. And then this little inner cynic or the devil and the angel come out on my shoulder and they start fighting, right? And you engage in this battle, right? Almost, right? And it's hard. And then oftentimes there's a unhealthy shame that follows that, right? And you start to shame yourself. You go into isolation, and you might engage in some destructive behavior, whether it be food or alcohol or drugs or whatever it might be. But the point is if we're going to be a transformed society, truly transformed society, it's not just about going up like our Western psychology, New Age talks about. And there is something called, I know we talked about a little bit about spiritual bypass, but the point of the matter is it's not just about going up, it's about going down into our dark places too. But it's not just about going down either. We have to include the going up and the going down of our lives. And as one of my friends says, just because you pour syrup on shit, it still makes it shit. You got to clean up the shit. You know what I'm saying? You got to clean up the shit in your life, right? Because you can pour all the sugar and syrup on the crap that you want and be all positive. Everything's great. Everything's great. Everything's great. But the shit's just going to get deeper and deeper further and further away from your conscious mind, and you're completely dissociated. And that's, you talk about, that's where shadow comes up from, right? And I know this is a particular podcast where we talk more about the positive sides of things, but I wanted to dedicate this particular episode on going down into our dirt, down into the dark places, and really allowing ourselves to feel and be honest and have a confrontation with the truth of our own life, of where we are. Because how can you fix something you're not aware of? Right? So if you're an alcoholic and everyone's saying, like, you have a problem with alcohol, and you say, no, I don't, and you have completely no awareness of it, you can't fix it until you finally say, I've got an alcohol, I've a drug addiction, or I've got, porn addiction, or I've got whatever it might be, right? Anyways, I interrupted you, Cam. Sorry about that.
That's fine. I didn't really have much else to say other than the fact that, getting completely clear on the problem and saying it out loud and admitting that you really have no other options, you're just sort of just completely helpless, it's so weird. You pass this threshold where you're just so much stronger and nothing else matters as much. You become almost invincible because
Yes.
you've been through so much that little things are just like, whatever. Like, I would rather be that person than the person who, cries about spilt milk.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So I think it definitely makes you a stronger, more appreciative, more grateful human being for the little things.
Yes. Yes.
Which is pretty much where you need to start. Like, it's like when you're helpless, you need to be like, all right, what is one thing that is good? Just one. Not two. One thing. And you have to just search for that one thing.
Yes.
And then you move up from there, But it really, it's a life-changing experience. Yeah. The most painful, the most hard thing.
It sucks.
Through.
It sucks.
It's absolutely
it
awful.
does. I'm not gonna lie. I'm doing when I do my own dark work, my own shadow work, and I look at it, it's hard to look at. My initial response, and it's counterintuitive to the ego, is to turn away from it. Why do I want to face that? It hurts. It's too painful, right? But the idea is that spirit wants to open up those areas so it can get in. Right? You get what I'm saying? So Rumi says the wound is where the light enters. We have to look at our wound and open it so the love and the light can enter the wounds, and that therefore healing can occur. And there's a deep response when you allow the soul to heal and the spirit to flourish and to embed itself in the dark places of your soul and every fiber of your being. There's a release, number one, but also I think from my own experience and where I am right now, there's a humility, there's grace in that. And you find you're like, wow. And there's this sense of joy that comes out of the pain and the suffering. You start to smile at it almost. It's weird. And it's like after a storm, a heavy storm, and the sun comes out, there's this smell, right? You ever smell like after a storm, the smell after a storm, and then the sun slowly comes out, and then you start to see the colors and the bright colors of nature around you, and then there's this odor that comes out from the sun, and the sun intertwines with the water that's fell from the sky, and it's a weird, and there's this beauty behind it, right? Out of the darkness, and so what am I getting at, guys? If you guys need help, it's okay. It's okay. I do too. I still have people I go to for spiritual direction, for therapeutic work, for my own dark shadow work. You can't see the picture when you're in the picture frame. You can't smell your own bad breath until someone points it out to you. So when you're in a problem, it's hard to see it for yourself. And people honestly think, oh, I'm going to figure this out on my own. People honestly think that's a noble path. It's not. It's an ego path. Do you know that? People that really, it's not a noble path to think that because you've done it on your own, or you think that you can do it on your, that's noble. It is not. As the African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Where two or more gather in my name, I will be there. It's about going together. It's no fun having dinner alone. So when someone comes to you and says, hey, look, I've been struggling with this for the past 10 years and no one knows about it. And I've struggled with telling people about it, but I wanted to go to you because I trust you. I've got a blank problem or an addiction, or I've got this pattern that's been destroying my life and I don't know what to do. I need help. There is a powerful alchemy that happens in that moment. It's like that dirt is turned into gold almost, right? And I've there been a number of times where Cam has come to me, and I've come to Cam even to say, you know what, I need you to tell me, just like I'm having a tough time today, or Cam might come to me and say, you know, I'm going through a few dark spots. Can you help me out here? Or I'll go to Cam and say, look, man, I'm just not feeling energized. I'm a little bit down, man. I just don't know where to go. Tell me something, right? And he'll kind of revert some of the stuff I've taught him right back to me. And that's what true friendship and relationship's all about. Mentorship, where the student becomes a teacher, the teacher becomes a student. I'm forever a student. I don't even consider myself a teacher. Even though I'm doing it right now, I consider myself someone that just loves life, and I'm just trying to help people. And I can only help people if I'm honest with myself, I'm honest with other people, and I allow other people to be honest with me. So hopefully you guys got a lot of this. Is this a gift or an illness? I know I went off on a tangent, as I always do, but I know you guys love it. So I know Cam loves it too. But it's an absolute honor to be on the show with you. And we're heading into Christmas, November 1st. I'm putting up the Christmas stuff. People that really know me out there, I'm a Christmas fanatic. I have friends out there are already putting up the Christmas tree. They're beating me to it. It's day after Halloween. I celebrate Christmas for the next 8-9 weeks. And I love Christmas because it's so much joy, the music, the lights, everything. Everyone's in a better mood. So any last words there, Cam?
No, I think that was a great episode. Obviously, nothing can be sunshine and rainbows all the time. So it's okay to get into those moments because we all have them. And it's sort of like the moment where you need the answers the most. It's but what you said where you talked about like a person going to another person and just like finally saying, I haven't told anybody this in 10 years or whatever, and this is the thing, and I have this problem. It's like, wow, that's like a moment in time. And I've seen moments like that, and I've experienced moments like that for myself. It's something definitely shifts. And it's very powerful. I can't even explain it with words like you can, but like it's crazy.
Well, there's this point where, and I'm sure you've been through this, Cam, and the people that are listening on Instagram, on Facebook, or whoever you are listening to this podcast, I'm sure there's a point where you're like, what if they judge me? Or what if it's so embarrassing to show my true colors? Or what if they see me as a fraud? Or what if they see me as, let me tell you something. In my experience, not a single time have I went to anyone that I've trusted in my own dark places, my own weakness, my own vulnerability. Not a single time did anyone judge me. In fact, you know what came out of that? They actually respected me more. They went, oh, here I thought you were this positive, like high energy guy and nothing fazed you. Now I know that you too get down, and it makes me feel good that if Anthony goes through it, then I can, of course I'll help you, Anthony. You're an amazing guy, of course, man. Let's talk about this. I've got this problem. I've been struggling with this, and I feel like I'm a fraud. I feel like I'm such a loser. There are times I still feel like that, where my ego, my inner cynic comes and says, who the hell are you to teach this stuff? You're nobody. And I honestly entertain it at times, and I just allowed myself to just drown in it. I'm sure I'm not the only one out there that actually have done that. I'm sure, Cam, you've done it too, and you're continuing to, and it's hard. And then you pull yourself out of that little sea of shame, drowning in your sorrows and your own imprisonment of guilt and shame and regret and remorse and self-pity, and you pull yourself out of that and you go, all right, I'm here. How do I get out of here? I need your help, because you can't see the picture when you're in a picture frame. I'm in it right now. Help me help me out of this little pit I'm in. And there's an amazing embarrassment gone, criticism gone, self-condemnation gone. Because as you tell and be, the truth shall set you free. Absolutely. For sure it will. Will it hurt? 100%. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. That's definitely is. I'm not going to like that. And I'll end this podcast with a quote from Saint Teresa of Avila. And she wrote an amazing book called The Interior Castle, which still goes down as one of the greatest spiritual books ever written. If you're really serious about your soul and spiritual journey, I highly recommend you read that book, because that book, man, will change your life. If you are ready for a spiritual, deep reflection of spirit, soul, of what it means to be human. Anyways, she said this: if then you sometimes fall, and you will fall, do not lose heart or cease striving to make progress. For even out of your fall, God will bring good, just as a man selling an antidote will drink poison before he takes it in order to prove its own power. So drink from the elixir of your own pain, and God will do its amazing, amazing power through you. It's hard. It will hurt. You'll discover physical pain and emotional pain in your body and your mind you never thought. And it's scary. Confrontation with truth is scary. There's no question. It's the scariest thing in the world. But man, let me tell you something. As one of my spiritual directors said to me, Anthony, those who wrestle with the divine walk with a limp, but experience the divine. And I'm sure many of you are walking with a limp. a physical limp, a mental limp, emotional limp, whatever it might be. And I've got nothing but compassion and love for you. So hopefully this episode brought some tears to your eyes, some great insight, and some expansion into what it really means to own your gifts, own your illnesses. And they're both gifts and they're both illnesses, and we have them both. And it's to live in between the both, right? So anyways, so to your continued upgrade and evolution, live it up with power, purpose, and passion. God bless you guys, and have an amazing, amazing weekend.